Oh, this is funny. Believe in Texans here with Cecil Shorts, and I'm Seth Payne, both former Texans, both sitting in a car where it looks like if you're watching on the YouTube, looks like we're in a horrible car that's got the black upholstery down one side and then nice leather. My rental car doesn't have the leather that yours has, Cecil.
I
This
know,
is
right?
we're not old men, Cecil. We're keeping up with the kids. We're podcasting from our cars. I'm
There
in
it is.
Eugene, Oregon still, and Cecil in Houston. I'm hoping to be in West Virginia within the next couple days so I can watch the Texans at training camp. And Cecil, Sheldon Rankins the other day said something that got me excited because Sheldon Rankins signed by the Texans in free agency after he'd left a couple years ago. Had a really promising year in 2023. Texans couldn't retain him. He came back, and Landry Locker asked him, what are the differences between the Texans in 2023 and now when you come back in 2025?
Culture set now. Obviously, new coach comes in, working overtime to try to get his identity imprinted within the framework of the team and getting the team to function without him having to say every little thing over and over again. So I think, obviously coming back, same quarterback leading the team and then defense, a lot of continuity. His culture is set, so I think, it's easy to kind of get back in here and honestly kind of fill my role like I did last time and then and just get back to playing ball.
So I loved that just because, look, I played with D'Amico. I know what he is, what he's all about, what he did in San Francisco. But you never know until a guy's a head coach whether he's actually going to be able to put his imprint on a team.
I didn't know you played with D'Amico.
Yeah, his rookie year was my last year in the NFL.
That's crazy.
I yelled at him in the huddle once because he came. I don't even remember who the starting middle linebacker was, but D'Amico was a rookie, and they had him start one day, and I was crusty old man. I don't know why they're letting a rookie run with the ones already, and he was having a hard time getting the play call out. And I yelled something at him like, "Oh, get the play call out!" And he just kind of looked at me, and this is when I first knew there was something different to him. He was like the Beastmaster, like he just settled me down. He just like he woosawed me, and then you could kind of just see how mature and like what a great leader he was even as a rookie.
That's crazy. I love to hear that from Rankins, because he can see firsthand the development and change in the culture from the 1 year he was here, the rookie year of D'Amico, and then how it is now. And it's only 2 or 3 years later, and that's not something that always happens everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that if you leave a franchise and the rookie coach is there, that he can really galvanize the troops and get them to believe in the culture that he's building. But he has. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, that we talked to Nick Caserio a couple days ago on Payne and Pendergast, and the one thing I've been impressed with is I think Nick and D'Amico together seem to have a pretty good feel for drafting the right kinds of guys. Because forever, the Texans would take guys in the third round that would have the talent of a first rounder, but then you'd find out in the first couple of years, like, oh, that's why this guy didn't go in the first round. I don't think he actually cares all that much about football. And these guys just feel like the opposite. They feel like they take these genuinely passionate guys that just live, eat, sleep, and breathe football.
They have a system in place.
Yeah.
With Nick and his scouts and the coaches there, they know exactly what type of baller they want, character, what he's into. Do they love the game? So yeah, they have a definitely a system in place that's been working for them, and they're finding the right guys and the right pieces, especially young guys, to really build the program.
You know what? I think the NIL has probably paid some dividends in some ways where you can kind of already see how a guy's going to be affected by money. Because because you think, Cecil, they're making good money, like they're not making NFL money, but I think sometimes you just don't know, especially when you give a guy a first round contract and it's ridiculous money, and sometimes it ruins. Like there's so many guys where I feel like if they hadn't been first round picks, they might have had better careers than if they hadn't been, just because right from the get go like whatever lack of maturity they have, you add to that a boatload of money, and it just spirals out of control so many times. So I feel like now you can maybe get a feel for, all right, well, this guy made $500,000 in NIL and was like he was not handling it well. You know, it was just I don't know. University of Georgia, those guys don't seem to handle it well, but then they do well in the NFL. Just at least they don't drive their vehicles well, at least.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna laugh. They really don't know. They struggle in that area the last consecutive years.
They drive really. Maybe they're great drivers, but they're just not doing it within the confines of the law.
Yeah, they probably should go on a speedway or something and drive on the.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like drive around the NASCAR.
Yeah. They should have a closed circuit at the University of Georgia just for the football players.
But you're right. But they're ballers. Jalen Carter and others are very, very good ball players.
So what Nick was saying, to get back to that, to get back to what I was talking about like 7 minutes ago, Nick was saying that it seems like a lot of the teams, the way I read what Nick was saying was that a lot of teams just have much less tolerance for the BS, like that they really want to be sure they're getting the right kinds of guys, and that maybe it's a higher standard than it used to be. But I mean, the Texans are doing a good job of it. I think I'll go back to that 2005 team when we were 2-14. And man, that was a bad culture, and it wasn't Dom Capers' fault. Part of it is, when you go 2-14, just
what made it bad though? What made it bad? Like what was the struggling parts of it?
The biggest thing I remember, honestly, and I felt awful the whole year because I was a veteran guy. I was in my 9th year in the NFL, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything about it. We lost a game, and I remember we were coming back on the plane, and you would have thought it was 1 a.m. at the club. And we had lost bad too, and everybody was just up in the aisles, acting crazy, just no regard whatsoever about what a miserable situation we were in. We were probably on like a 3, 4, 5 game wins losing streak at that point. That was the thing that really stuck out, to where we, like me and a couple other veteran players, were trying to settle guys down, and they were just belligerent about it. And it was young guys too, like young guys mouthing off the older guys. And I think about some of the guys on that team, and I don't think they have a lot of guys like that on this team.
Nah, they seem pretty. Again, the process they go through, they seem like they get a certain type of player, a certain type of background that loves the game of football. I think that's the biggest thing that stands out. The guys that, if you hear Kamari Lassiter talk or Will Anderson talk, anybody, they love the process of getting better. They love the mindset of hey, we got an opportunity to be really, really good, and they're focused and grinding. That's the type of guy they look for, it seems like. You
know what it is? It's a level of maturity. I always think of it kind of like understanding the value of compounding interest. It's something when you're a young man, you might know mathematically that money compounds over time, but it doesn't. It's something that you got to really commit to, and just putting away a little bit every bit at a time, and just trusting in it. And these guys like Will Anderson and CJ Stroud and all of them, they'll talk about the daily improvements, of just not worrying too much about what the end outcome is. Just put a little bit in the bank every day, put a little bit in the bank every day. And not every workout has to look like you're on a sneaker commercial or anything. You just got to just make those steady improvements. That's the part that's been cool to watch. I think they have a better attitude about it than a lot of young guys. Speaking of CJ Stroud, Clint Sterner. I don't know if you heard the clip or not of Clint Sterner on Sports Radio 610. Clint's very nervous about the limited number of reps that CJ Stroud is getting, and this is coming off of CJ being limited during OTAs because of his sore shoulder. And I haven't listened to the press conferences today, so I haven't heard if D'Amico's talked about it or not. But it does. I'm trying not to freak out about it. But if he's getting limited reps, and he'll go in a couple, at times, and only get a few reps at a time in a new offense, am I freaking out? If I'm freaking out at all, am I freaking out too much at this stage of training camp?
No, I think all of our ears are perked up like a dog. Like they hear something, it's like, wait a second, because you told us maybe in the spring, if we didn't hear what we heard, or we didn't find out about the shoulder, it would be different. But that kind of scared some people, right? I know you went off on it at one point.
I did like 7 videos on YouTube. I was genuinely nervous. I swear it wasn't artificial. I was genuinely freaked out by it.
Rightfully so. I'm starting to get to that point. Not yet, but I'm listening. I'm paying close attention, because anywhere else, all 31 teams, and you know this, Seth, you've been a part of many camps, and and watch many camps from a media standpoint, the number one guys get the most of the reps.
Yeah,
like, that's just what it is. I guess it's not a split between 1 through 4. There is no, unless you're the Cleveland Browns, there's no split through 1 through 4 trying to figure out, CJ's your guy. He should get the majority of the reps. So when he's not getting those reps, especially with a new offensive coordinator and a new offense, it brings questions like, okay, what else is going on that is the reason he's not getting as many reps as we all think he should, or this probably he thinks he should? Is it the shoulder? Is it bothering him? Is something else going on, right? Is that maybe how Nick does it? I don't know, but it definitely causes attention to us to pay a little bit more close attention to it.
I think what I tell myself is, hey, it is early, and because he had that soreness in his shoulder during OTAs, maybe they committed back then to just saying, no, we're going to be as careful as possible in the early stages and just get all the mental work. But that part of it, I wanted to ask you about this because I'm always intrigued by the offenses that have a bunch of pre-snap motion. Everybody in the modern NFL, you get really agitated if your offensive coordinator doesn't have a bunch of pre-snap motion, because that's the current state of affairs. Everybody wants to get as much pre-snap motion as possible. And I feel like, even from people that cover the sport, they sometimes talk about it like it's something you just decide to do or don't do, and forget about the fact that it actually takes a lot of work to get to have a lot of pre-snap motion and not to screw things up.
It's pre-snap motion. Well, number one, you're doing it to get all the information you can from the defense, right?
Yeah.
Trying to understand the coverage, see the blitzes, all that good stuff, the fronts. But it's so much that goes into it because everybody has to be on the same page. So you have to know, like, if you're a receiver and you're on one side and you're motioning across, what are you looking for? What's the reason why you're motioning? Where to stop? Where to line up? And again, once you line up on that side, now what you're looking for on this side of the field.
Yeah.
If somebody came with you, okay, what's your assignment? Somebody didn't come with you, what's your assignment? Same thing for a back, same thing for a tight end, same thing for, because it also can change the front of how the offensive line blocks it. Like, if a back motions out the backfield, now they may change the defense, and now it went from a 3 technique to a 1. Like, you just don't know how it's going to go. So it's so much goes into it, and it's like a communication before it happens. But it's a lot, man, that can confuse, or it can get things going well.
And that's where usually teams adjust to whatever the trends are in the league. And the cool thing to watch over the last 10 years has been teams that started doing a whole boatload of real aggressive pre-snap motion. It had a really good intended effect. But then defenses, once they got comfortable with that, started faking traveling with a receiver across the motion. So that adds another good layer of complexity for the offense, right? Where you're the quarterback sees that it looks like a cornerback's traveling with the slot receiver across the field, but then they snap it and then they all jump back into their original zones. So you just, it makes me, every time I try to put myself in the shoes of an offensive coordinator or an offensive lineman, I'm like, I don't want to live in that world, man. There's just too much going on. There's too much thought.
Well, let me ask you this. Does it affect the defensive lineman? Like, if you see
it does.
Snap motion, does it affect you?
Yeah, it does. Well, it depends, because when I played for Vic Fangio, Vic was really ahead of his time when it came to that stuff, because he wanted guys that, you might have 2 different blitzes, completely different blitzes called in the huddle, or 3 different defenses, and depending on what formation they came out in, that wasn't just going to change which side you were blitzing from. It might change the blitz completely, and and then the defensive backs are on a whole different level. But for the defensive linemen, a lot of that, you get back, it goes back to communication that you were talking about earlier. Just even with a tight end swap, it's going to change a lot of things for you. And the communication on the defensive line of just, hey, one defensive end alerting the other defensive end when a guy is in motion. The worst time I ever got caught on that was when we were playing against the Cardinals, and you remember David Boston? Boston. So we had something called where I was going to change my responsibility based on if there was a tight end switch, and I see this big body out of my peripheral vision come across and set down in the D area there, and I assumed it was a tight end, so I changed my alignment. I screwed everything up because it was David Boston. There's no way you could have told me that it wasn't a tight end. That guy was so freaky. He was probably bigger than most tight ends.
Oh, for sure. Dave Boston was humongous. I'll never forget his fight with Charles Woodson. But anyways, yes. You know what, too? I was thinking about this when you were talking about how Vic Fangio had all this complicated stuff. I think a lot of the times the offense, they are just trying to get y'all to communicate. Like a lot of times it's not even about switching the play. It's just, okay, let's just move to make them think we're doing something, but we're not.
Yeah.
It looks different, but it's not this time. A lot of games are being played with the pre-snap motions.
That honestly, the calls that offensive and defensive linemen make, at least, just, you know, I would pay attention to quarterbacks, but then the trouble is, if you start paying attention to Peyton Manning, he figures out that you know what he knows and that you know, like, he does that whole thing where if you figure out his snap count based on his, you know, his calls at the line of scrimmage, then he's going to change it up in the second quarter, and then you get an offsides. But with the offensive line, you know, sometimes it's with younger players, especially if they call rip or Liz or whatever to say which way they're sliding, it's usually pretty honest. But then the veteran offensive linemen, they'll make their dummy calls. And, you know, likewise with defensive linemen, you just, if you just make your calls, veteran offensive linemen are going to figure it out. So you try to make dummy calls. Like, sometimes this is where it's tough depending on how intelligent your defense is. So, like, if you've been calling a blitz from the left is just a Liz, like, obviously good offensive linemen and quarterbacks are going to figure that out. So you give dummy calls, and ideally the dummy call would be, like, before the snap, the linebacker would say, hey, if it's Liz, I'm going to say rip, and if it's rip, I'm going to say Liz. But you can't. There's out of 11 guys, somebody's going to screw that up. You know, like, it's really. And then you're down in your stance thinking, like, rip is Liz. The ball's snapped, and you're still thinking about it. We're just such simple creatures.
Yes, we are. That's funny.
Speaking of tight ends, Dalton Schultz. We might see the previous version of Dalton Schultz. And Cade Stover's been looking really good. Brevin Jordan's been looking really good. I think one of my biggest tests for Nick Caley, I think, is, hey, can you make Dalton Schultz look more like the guy that we saw in Dallas and in 2023 compared to whatever the hell that was last year?
I think that's going to be, to me, I'm looking at that room and him being a former tight ends coach with New England and the Rams. Like, I expect him to elevate that room. Now, I don't know which one will elevate the most, right? I don't know which type of style he likes. I probably got to go back and watch film. Probably won't do that in particular with tight ends, just being honest. But I'm interested to see what he likes best. Does he like a Brevin Jordan type? He's like a Cade Stover. Can he bring out the best, like you're saying, in Dalton? I don't know. I'm kind of moving on from Dalton. I want to see fresh. I want to see Cade or Brevin kind of take over that role.
The thing about Brevin is, man, you don't see farm kids that much more in the NFL, but he's everything that you used to want out of a farm kid, because he grew up on a farm, and like, I don't, you know, when you play with guys that grew up on farms, they work their butts off. Yep. They'll break their leg and not tell anybody about it and just keep playing. Like, everything about him is that guy. And I think he's athletic enough. He's not going to be a freak of nature or anything, but he's really worked at getting separation at the top of his routes. All those little things that, you know, like when you watch Travis Kelce looks like he's operating about 85 or 90% of max speed most of the time. Not because he's lazy, but just because he's just so good at working leverage and head faking and all those other things that he just kind of, he's old. He doesn't move as well as he used to, but he still figures out a way to get open because he's so good at all those little nuances. And I think Cade's got the potential for that, because he's got a feel for it, and he's raw. He only played 2 years of tight end in his life before he got to the NFL, and he's working at it. So, and the other thing too is D'Amico, when he gushes about a guy, it's usually pretty genuine. He never tears a player down, but he'll say things about, when asked about some players, he'll say, yeah, he's working hard. That's he's making progress. He talks about Cade Stover, and you can see his eyes light up. Like, they're going to give him every bit of opportunity and chance, I think, to do well.
That's exciting. Yeah. Plus, he played with CJ. They got some type of connection there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some type of trust that's just inevitable.
That whole, the Buckeye thing, I still get angry about people saying that CJ couldn't be good because he was an Ohio State quarterback. An argument. That argument, no matter what school anybody's talking about, always drives me insane because just point me to the QB factories. Like, show me all the schools that have produced more than one or two really, really good NFL quarterbacks. It's just you can't pin it down to a specific school.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Christian Wilkins. Had you kept up with the Christian Wilkins news to go outside the Texans for a little bit?
I learn something different every day, whether it's a kiss on the forehead or tickling feet or whatever.
So for those of you who don't know, Christian Wilkins was released by the Raiders. Initially, it was reported that it was because he didn't handle his rehab well for his ankle injury. But there's other things that went on, and nobody's really quite sure exactly what it was. Schefter's the one that reported that it was a kiss on the forehead or something, but there's other people saying like, look, Christian Wilkins is a known line stepper when it comes to breaching boundaries. When he was in college, he would do stuff to people when they're on the ground that was kind of weird. I don't know. I think he's a weird dude, man.
Yes, he is. He's a different guy. Like, I don't. And in locker rooms, you notice, in locker rooms, you get a plethora of different individuals.
Yeah.
But he is starting to stick out. Like, he was consistently doing things just that stood out a little more than everybody else.
And the fact of the matter is, if somebody tells you they don't want you to do something, there's locker room behavior where you which has changed a lot over the years. Generations of us were probably a little over the line with a lot of stuff in the locker room, but there's a part of me that feels like Christian Wilkins coming out of Miami. I can trace this all the way back to Richie Incognito and Mike Pouncey. I don't know, man. There's something messed up going. There's something with the Dolphins where they're just outside the envelope of normal behavior, and it just keeps manifesting itself in weird ways.
That's actually a good connection you made right there. I didn't even think about that. That's a nice little connection.
These are the things I think about. See, I don't have a real job like you do, Cecil. And I only have one child, and we're empty nesters at this point. So I have time to think about this stuff. The weirdest thing I ever saw out of a teammate was a guy who's going to remain nameless because he's an awesome dude. But and some people listening have probably heard this story and know who I'm talking about. But somebody walked into the bathroom one day, and there was an offensive lineman. They could tell underneath the stall by looking underneath the stall. He was sitting on the toilet while eating fast food. So he was eating a hamburger while you're sitting on the toilet, and I still to this day I can't figure out how anybody could ever want to do that. It's not like he was in a hurry to get to a meeting or anything. I think he was just sitting in enjoying a hamburger while dropping a deuce on the toilet.
Was he a bigger guy?
He was a bigger guy. He's since slimmed down.
Was he fighting like? Was he obviously he was hiding, right? He didn't want the nutritionist or
No. This guy he was just kind of a messy Marvin, man. He would leave clippings. He would cut his fingernails on the training room table as he was sitting there and then just leave. It just wouldn't do it onto a napkin or anything. He was an oldest child. I think he just got away with whatever he wanted when he was a kid and just kind of just ran the show. Awesome dude, though. Awesome dude. Just a little bit weird with his personal hygiene habits.
I can't chew gum and sit on the toilet. Like, it's just something about sitting on the toilet and trying to eat that's like I can't do. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine eating a burger. And I don't know if he was taking a deuce or not, but he was eating a burger.
There's other quiet places to sit. Yeah, it's not like he wanted to be alone with his thoughts.
I don't know.
Kevin Bastine was one of the athletic trainers for the Texans originally, and he had been at West Virginia, and he said that some of the personal hygiene of some of their freshmen when they would come out of the hills of West Virginia and everything was they had to sit down with some guys and explain to them about how you operate in society. It's just that listen, man, you're not in the holler up in the woods anymore. You gotta take care of yourself.
I had two interesting off the top of my head. There was a guy I played with that, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows who this is. I won't say his name though. It's not a bad thing. He would just eat bugs for money. Like he would just do crazy stuff for money.
Oh yeah.
Like it was just eat bugs or whatever, and they would come up with these crazy stuff, and he would just eat it, and he would do it, and he wouldn't care about it. Country boy. I mean, he just didn't care, and I'm just like, this is the weirdest thing for me to see, and he was like willing to do it.
You're talking about old Ben there, right?
Yeah, Ben Jones.
Yeah, Ben. No, he's proud of that. That's on film. That's documented. I don't.
He loved it. Like,
He
loved it. It was weird.
I remember seeing him at an event. I was emceeing some event his rookie year, and he drove up, and it was, a lot of guys get big pickup trucks and everything, but they're glossy and shiny and everything. And he had a nice truck. It was like an F-350 or some big truck, but it was cool because it was like a white work truck version of it. It was brand new, but I was like, oh no, it's white and it's not decked out like with a $2,000 upgrade type of white. Like no, he's planning on using this for work, and that's it. Like it could have been an oil and gas worker or something.
Man, and Ben was awesome. Then I had another guy with another team. He would come to. We were rookies together, maybe, but he would come in work with his shirt off. Like he would just walk in with his shirt off I'm not every day, but most days. So I'm like,
was he pretty jacked?
Oh, he was a Greek guy looking guy.
That's messed up, man. That's messed up.
The building with no shirt on every single day, like majority of the time. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? But he was a wild boy, good dude, but wild dude. I'm like, this dude here, I don't get it. We were rookies coming in together, and he just was on it.
There was a guy for the Texans. He was like a free spirit, weird dude. He was I don't think he was even on contract. I think they brought him in on a tryout basis. But he was shredded, but was just a workout machine. And I can't remember his name because he just came from a small school. Nobody really knew him. But he was shredded like that and was always shirtless, but almost in a way of like somebody who lives in a tent on the beach would be. Because he had like long hair. This white guy shredded with this long hair, and he would ride his bike. He would ride his bike in from Sugar Land every day, and then ride his bike back. And he was just kind of he was just out there. And when they cut him, it was the weirdest thing. He got released. And he came back to get all his stuff, and he walked into the facility, and he had a Bowie knife on. He was shirtless with a Bowie knife strapped like around his back with a leather strap over the front. But he came in and he was being super polite to everybody, but everybody's just kind of looking around like, what the hell's going on with this guy? So nobody quite knew. I think they had a security guard kind of just trailing him, like saying it was standard protocol, but nobody could quite figure it out. And then I'll tell the other damn thing. I'm going to blank on his name right now, so I'll tell the story. I'll tell the story another time. I don't want to disrespect him.
That's one thing about the locker room. Any and everybody is a part of it, and you're gonna see everything. Love it.
Cecil, you got to get back to work. Believe in Texans. Hey, please subscribe and leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcast every Monday and Wednesday from now on through the end of the season. Everybody have a great one.